It's been 8 weeks or so of this journey. 8 weeks of walking this road, climbing up the stairs. 8 weeks of the same thing. 8 weeks of reflecting. 8 weeks of using this elevator. 8 weeks of sitting on this chair. It's been 8 weeks of finding myself. 8 weeks of speaking about my life. 8 weeks of mindfulness. 8 weeks of consistently pushing myself to come to this room, speak out, cry, and be allowed to be vulnerable. It's been 8 weeks of just sitting here and being me. Let's find out what I've been up to for the past 8 weeks of therapy and how therapy has changed my life, if at all. Hi guys, let's reflect on the year and check in. So I just wanted to do this video because I'm just thinking about my plans for tomorrow, and it just occurred to me that my Monday is going to be different for the first time, I think, in 8 or 12 weeks. So for the past 3 months, I've been seeing a therapist every Monday, and that was a personal decision inspired by me wanting to change my life and me wanting to just be different, or rather have a different outcome in 2024 and beyond. So yeah, and I appreciate that lady who shared about her journey on WhatsApp status, because sometimes when you share things on social media, people are going to think you are just doing it for attention or you are showing off. But believe me when I say there is some life that is impacted when you share. Of course, it's not for everyone, but those that resonate, those that need it, will always appreciate it. So I just want to share my journey and share because I'm just thinking about how my life has changed in the past few months because of this decision that I made to see a therapist. So when this lady that eventually referred me to hers wrote the status on WhatsApp, she said, social media has this thing of lying to us. There are these codes, or rather ideas or things that we say a lot on social media that tend to not really be true, but we start to embrace them as truth because they've been said too much. One of them being maybe heal from the things that we never talk about. And, we say that a lot, yet it's not true. There's no way you can heal from things that you don't talk about. All right, so yeah, so that then started the conversation on, how she started to look at the things that she wasn't talking about and started to find someone she trusts to talk about, and that changed her life forever. And that really prompted me to take the decision to also go and talk about the things that I wouldn't want to talk about, maybe to my friends, to my partner, to my family, maybe because I fear that I could be judged, but someone who's trained to listen to you talk about yourself and your things, your problems, it's going to have a different outcome, obviously. So yeah, I'm just going to share some of the things that happened for me while doing therapy that I think are going to really help me moving forward, because the decision to stop for now just came from my therapist saying that there are certain changes that I've made, that are moving me forward. And she also said it's a journey that also allows me to independently stand on my own, to see if, you know, I can sustain without, you know, professional help. And also, you know, to excuse me, to also not depend on, you know, the relationship for me to be able to live my life. So yeah, that is why we decided to stop for now, but it's always open as long as I can be able to afford it in the future. And as long as I think there is a need, or the certain things that I think I want to talk about, that I need to, you know, maybe understand why, you know, they're happening, or understand why they're making me feel this way, or understand why they are probably stopping me from getting to the next level in life, then, you know, granted, I can still go on and do it. Okay, so one of the things that happened is that I started to check in more with my feelings. Before, I wouldn't really check in with my feelings. And this being something that was happening on a weekly basis, specifically on the first day of the week, allowed me the space, you know, to truly reflect on the past week and truly check in with my feelings, you know, to see how I am doing, to see how the things that are happening, or the things that have been said to me, the things that, you know, happened in the previous week, have affected me. You know, so that was the biggest win for me just by doing this. I remember the first time I reached out to my therapist, and she gave me this day and this hour. I just felt like, okay, why a Monday, and also why 12, you know, but I grew to adjust to it, and I grew to make time for it, because the thing is, I was always just preoccupied with other things that are not really helping me become the best version of myself. They were really maybe contributing to my economic growth or other things, but they were not really prioritizing me. You know, so this really helped me to put everything aside and start to find a me day. So the thing about a me day is that I didn't really have it, and I cannot count weekends as a me day, because first of all, I work until Saturday, late on Saturday, you know, and Sundays, well, I don't really go to church, but you find that I'm just sleeping in and I'm resting, and you know, I'm just trying to rest and prepare for the new week. So basically, I didn't have a me day. So I started to love the idea of a me day. I started to love the idea of a day that is just designated for my things, for my adult activities, and activities that just are for me, and not necessarily for me and my partner, or me and my children, just me. Of course, I could still squeeze in me and my partner and me and my children, but the most important person was me, you know. So I started to find a me day. And as someone who's always just been like big on self-care, bath soaks, that kind of thing, I grew to learn that that is the social media version of self-care, but that is not truly self-care. That is just 1 hour of soaking in a foam bath, but that is not truly self-care. When you are literally saying, I am not taking any phone calls on this day, I am not attending anything else, I'm just prioritizing myself. And I was having this conversation with the lady, you know, who had initially referred me to the therapist that I eventually used. And, you know, just to reflect on the journey and thank her, you know, just for aligning me with this, you know. And she was saying, we barely take the time to talk about ourselves, you know, just ourselves, like a whole hour talking about yourself, where you know that this person is not going to talk about themselves while you're talking about yourself. They're going to listen to you because that's what you need, you know. So that is what happened for me. Just a me day. The idea of a me day wasn't there. The idea of self-care, you know, in a week wasn't really there. And yeah, just being able to check in with my feelings. The second thing that I want to say I took from this is that life is holistic. God made for us to live a holistic life. You know, it's so funny because I did mental health in my final year in nursing school, and our mental health lecturer used to just always talk about the balancing of 5 parts, that is your physical, spiritual, psychosocial, financial, emotional. I think, you know, just to say, if you want to live a life in abundance and a life in full, all those parts of your life need to be balanced or in sync. And I don't know how I missed it along the way, but you know, attending therapy again reminded me that the imbalance comes from me not prioritizing, or rather paying attention to the other parts of life other than working and earning, you know. So I really, really got to a point where I appreciated it, and I implemented things in my life that brought that balance again. So the third thing that I think I got from just doing therapy that I was not really paying attention to is mindfulness. So basically, we sometimes live our lives, you know, and not paying attention, you know, to what is happening, paying attention to our surroundings, paying attention to, you know, to a lot of things around us, because, you know, sometimes it's easy to live your life on autopilot. I think I was listening to something, you know, by Pastor Sam, one of my mentors, and he was saying there's a time when they were walking to a certain mall, you know, with his friend, where they would just always go and eat, you know. But this time around, they were going to a place next to that specific restaurant that they would visit, you know. So he says, but they ended up finding themselves in that same place where they were not going, you know, because of the subconscious mind and how it takes over, you know. So what he was essentially saying is that a lot of us just do things, you know, in life, not really because we wanted to be doing those things, but because we're not mindful and we're just doing what we are used to doing, you know. And yeah, mindfulness is one of the things, guys. And I started to pay attention to just what is happening, you know, at physical level, what is happening. Be mindful, be present, and not have a wandering mind. I'd recommend this book by Joyce, Meyer, Battlefield of the Mind, if you really want to understand the concept of mindfulness, you know. But yeah, that is what therapy did for me. There's even a time when I think I told my therapist that I come here literally every week, but this is the first time I see how your office looks and how that really helps me as your client, you know, find this environment, a healing environment, an environment that really helps me achieve my mental health goals. And I started to notice that there's a new bunch of flowers every week when I come in. I started to notice that there's a candle, there's a scent, a certain scent that I started to associate with, you know, that room, with therapy, with healing, with vulnerability, with, you know, just that space. So I started to be more mindful, and guess what, I started to even be more mindful in my home, you know, the physical space in my home. I started to see certain things like I didn't see before, you know. Guys, have you ever just stayed in your house and not really seen any fault until maybe you started to take a picture for Instagram and you started to see, because hi man, the curtain is not maybe clean, or I didn't really pull, you know, and align it right, or, you know, there's certain things that I want to fix, you know, in the background before I actually take the picture. That kind of thing is what happens when it comes to us and being mindful. You know, I started to be mindful because my brain was always just on run, and there was no pause and, you know, notice what is happening around you. So I started to be more mindful, and I started to be mindful of just my actions and inactions and how they are affecting my relationships and other people. You know, I started to pay attention to my social media consumption and what exactly triggers me, when I'm online. I started to notice. As such, I decided to just stop using Facebook for some time. In fact, during the time when I was in therapy, I wasn't really using Facebook. I removed the app from my phone and I just decided not to use it because it just came with so many triggers. And yeah, it was just a lot. So mindfulness is one of the things that happened for me, and I am happy that I'm at a space in my life where I am more mindful and I am more present. Of course, therapy alone is not what helped me to become more mindful. I started to journal. I started to stay, with myself more and, just be quiet and not be scrolling and not be talking and not be calling. I used to have this habit, guys, of just always wanting to be on the phone with someone, maybe when I am driving or when I am alone, but now I started to just want to be with myself without any gadget, without any external distraction, without any music, and just listen to my feelings, listen to my body, and just just be instead of doing all the time. So mindfulness is one of the things that happened, and I really, really am grateful for the experience, because then this I am taking, to my life moving forward, and it's something that I believe if I stick to it, I'm going to have a great quality of life. And then another thing, I think I wrote my points because I know myself. I can really, really go on and on. Yeah, speaking of mindfulness, I started also to just have clarity on my purpose. Sometimes you know what God really wants you to do or what you're here on earth to do, but you are all over because there's a lot of things that are happening. We spend a great deal of our time online and you see other people doing certain things and you then want to imitate those things. So I started to find clarity of purpose where I was like, this is the thing that God wants me to do. Like I started to just be clear on what I had to do. And this really even helped me to stop wanting to jump on every new trend, every new coach, every new offer that is there online, every new book that people recommend. I just started to see things that are for me and embrace my season and how it aligns to the greater plan that God has for me. And sometimes clarity of purpose is not just found in a therapist's room. You're going to find it when you are more quiet, more mindful, more of a listener than a talker, that kind of thing. So spending more time with God is also something that I started to be able to do because of, just how I had started to slow down on certain things and just be present, where I was. And that really, really it really catapulted my success in terms of the steps, or rather the leaps that I wanted to make with regards to my mental and spiritual health. And then another thing that happened is that I started to pay attention to my physical space. I don't know if you've heard this, but people talk about how your physical space is a representation of what is happening in your mind. If you have clutter in your physical space, you are likely to just be having a lot going on in your mind. Like, guys, when you see codes or things, rocks just, tangled or all over each other, that is what is happening in your mind, and that manifests in your physical space as well. So I started to pay more attention, and to my physical space, how it makes me feel. And I started to, do certain things, and it's not really about what I bought. It's also about just how I changed the feel of my home, to suit the mood that I wanted. So every time I would just come into my house and marvel at the change that I saw and how it affected my mental health. Things like just getting extra light coming into our room instead of having a blackout curtain. That helped a lot, because then that meant I wake up each morning and there's light coming in, and that really affects me positively. Things like looking at our clothes. I used to have a lot of stress about clothes. I hated hand washing, and I just asked myself, why is those things such a big thing when I could still maybe get something else that would make my life easier? And that helped us to get a washing machine. And I don't know, guys, how that really has changed so much for me in terms of my mental health. So just paying attention to my physical space is one of the things that came with mindfulness, and just paying attention, something I didn't do before. What I learned is letting go of perfection. That really, really helped me a lot, because I used to be a perfectionist, someone who thinks about a lot of things, great ideas, but never really brings them out there. Someone who talks about doing things, but never really does them, because, I don't think they are perfect enough to put out there, or, so that really affects you a lot in terms of executing your life purpose, and also just growing in any field. So I noticed that I was just someone who was always obsessed about perfection. So now I just create things and put out there, and I tell myself that with consistency, I'm going to get better. I don't really obsess about the first version being the final version, because I want it to be perfect. And this also made me, or rather helped me, get back to content creation on YouTube and put myself out there more using video strategy. And this has also helped to grow my business in so many ways, my confidence, my creativity, just putting myself out there, and also using what I have. Sometimes we think it's going to be better when I have this kind of phone, or this kind of camera, or this kind of money, or this kind maybe of skills, whatever is holding you back from executing. It doesn't really come from you not having that thing. It comes from certain maybe traumas or things that happened in your past that caused you to think what you have is not enough. So those things were dealt with. We visited a lot of those things. And sometimes it also just comes from your birth order, like being the firstborn at home. You're expected, to lead by example. You're expected to be, the deputy parent. You're expected to show others the way. You had years of assault trying maybe to figure out your own life. You don't even know what you're doing yourself. It could also maybe come from something as positive as just being an excellent student. That you would maybe do well in school and always just come out first position, and as you got into adulthood and started to live, in a society with other people, you still wanted to be perfect. You still wanted to come out first. You still wanted, to do things and be the whiz kid, and have all the eyes on you, and have everyone respect you, and have everyone celebrate you, and if everyone highlight your achievements. Yet in real life it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes in real life you find that you're not number one, and that's totally okay. I'm saying this in my therapist's voice because she would say it all the time, that Spussy, sometimes in life you don't have to come out or rather to come first. You don't have to be first position. You don't have to be the best. You just need to be living your life according to your standards, and that's totally okay. And this is something you should also teaching your children, that it's okay not to win and have someone else win, because that is life. So that really is something that I got, and it made me also revisit some of my traumas, some of my past hurts, things that came from me not embracing not being perfect, and that really helped a lot. Another thing is better relationships. I don't know if I've already mentioned this, but I got better relationships just after starting this journey, because then I started to see the things, that I was exaggerating in my life, that had happened, that could have led to fallouts in friendships, loss of relationships and certain things. And I started to approach those individuals that I felt I should be doing things right with or by. And yeah, that really was a very big step for me in terms of just forgiveness and reconciling, and just giving people second chances in life, or rather giving myself a second chance with that relationship. So that really was a result of therapy. And then I wanted to end with delegation and letting go of control. So one of the things that also I was able to do, and which was a result of just seeking professional help, is not wanting to do everything all the time, being able to delegate. And this is something I've been struggling with. This is something that a lot of people I know that are high achievers are struggling with, where they feel other people are not going to be able to do it like you. And that is true. They don't really have to do it like you. But what if that person could do it better than you? What if that person could be bringing a different source to it, a different brain, a different hand, an extra, input that you yourself, by yourself, you wouldn't be able to do. So that really just made me see that a lot of the burnout, a lot of the resentment towards things that I used to enjoy, things that I used to love before, just came from the fact that I was doing everything by myself. And as such, we were able to also, create a position in our business, and start the hiring process. And this person has already joined our team, and it's a beautiful space for me. It's just been a few days, and I've been asking myself, how have I been doing by myself all along? But it was the priorities that I had. The priorities were not, I want to have a better mental health, or better mental life, or a holistic life, or I want balance in my life. It was, I just want to make money, and everything else didn't matter, so I was able to delegate in every other thing, also even in just my personal life, in motherhood. There was a time where I would beat myself up over not having my son with me all the time, not raising my child by myself. But I asked, myself, why do I feel that way? Because this is someone else relieving me, this is someone else helping me. And not everybody has the privilege, not everybody has that kind of life where their parents are willing to also assist in parenting or raising kids, or just being there and relieve them of certain parenting tasks that can be exhausting. So now I just allow it, and I stop beating myself up over perfection, over I want to be the main thing in my child's life. I want to be the everything in my child's life. I don't know it. I didn't grow up with my grandparents. My parents would always just try to be the ones raising us. But sometimes I would see people with, grandparents as their heroes, talk about how, they impacted their gogos and kulis, changed their lives. And I didn't relate, because I would only see my grandparents once in a while. And we just didn't have that kind of bond, because our parents never really allowed it for us to have it. But my son has a very good bond with both our parents, grandparents from both our sides, or from both his sides. And it's a beautiful thing to know that he has this, big circle of love, of support, of, care, and that kind of thing. Anyway, that is just what I wanted to share. maybe this is the video you needed to just start your journey. Maybe this is what you need, to start feeling unstuck in your life. Go and seek help. I know sometimes we don't think it's affordable. We don't even try because we think it's for certain people who have money. But most psychologists locally do take Swazimed medical aid, so do inquire about it. If you have the money, the resources, do find help. Okay, I know I said I was saying the final point, but now it's final for real. Work-life balance and enforcing healthy boundaries in our life. This is one of the things that the first day I stepped into my therapist's room, I learned, just from the very first interaction when we started talking for the first time, one of the things that she said was, boundaries are okay. Boundaries are you choosing yourself and also you protecting yourself. And she likened it to you just having a home and not creating maybe not having a fence, not having a gate, and then still blaming people for coming into your home as they please, and saying you cannot blame those people because you also didn't enforce boundaries. You also didn't protect yourself. You also didn't put boundaries in place. So what boundaries are they crossing really when you are saying they invading a space? So things like, times when people just call you, things that people will say you must do for them when you know very well that you don't want to do, you don't want to do, or you shouldn't be doing, taking on tasks that are not yours, saying yes to things that you shouldn't be saying yes to, going to places you don't want to go to, but you feel it's an obligation to be there because maybe of your position or maybe of the expectation from other people. Those are some of the things that I painfully had to learn, and boundaries really, really, really was something I was struggling with. And I remember that one of the things that my therapist kept talking about was authenticity, that you need to be authentic to live a full life. You need to be true to yourself, and you need to be true to what you believe in. And you shouldn't do things because someone expects them of you, yet you do not agree with, or they don't align with your goals and your vision at the present moment. So I learned about boundaries. I learned about saying no. I learned about saying no and being firm, no matter who the person is, no matter the relationship. If it really, really is something that I don't align with, I do not have to say yes to if I really want to say no. So I learned more about boundaries, and reading the book Boundaries, I think by Dr. Henry. I'm going to share it, but I usually just share it for those that are following me on my social media. I would just share that book. It's a book that I have had for quite some time, but it's very good because it talks about boundaries from a Christian perspective. So I started to now be able to find a healthy balance between work and my life, and certain things like my calendar came into play, where I would be able to jot things on my calendar and allocate time for certain things. So if something was not in my calendar, then I have no business doing it because I didn't plan for it. It's something that is just random that came up that I didn't plan for, and I have no business doing. So I started to implement certain things according to the calendar method. I started to, implement sleeping times in my home, business time, sleeping time, no phone time, no phone zone, like our bedroom, no phone zone, and certain things that I didn't really notice that, we used to eat and still be on our phones. You're having a meal and you're still on your phone. It's family time, yet when you're on your phone. Those kind of things. And also better relationships, with my partner as well. We started to implement date night on a weekly basis where we check in, with the progress in our relationship, the goals, what we want to achieve, and just how are you doing, my love? Because we stay together, we're married, but we don't have time because of life, so those are certain things that I started to be non-negotiable in my life. They started to be non-negotiable in my life. Boundaries, certain things that I really didn't pay attention to, that I was working more than living, yet work is a part of living, not the other way around. So I started to say, okay, does this tie with my overall goal of wellness? If it doesn't, then I have no business doing. I don't care who it hurts. I don't care how I'm going to be perceived, but people are going to adjust, because they endorses my life. And if my life doesn't make me happy, then why would I bother to make everyone happy? I think there's a verse in the Bible that talks about, how is it going to benefit you to make everyone happy, the whole world happy, and lose your life? And that is the same concept, that is the same thing that now guides my life in terms of how I live it. I cannot make everybody happy and make everyone else happy at the cost of my life, at the expense of my life. So yeah, that is it, guys. I think I've already shared that there's plenty of therapists and psychologists locally in Eswatini and outside. Just go online. I think my therapist recommended that you go on national, I don't know the actual website, I'm going to look it up, but Eswatini Psychologist Association, something, there's plenty of them there, and you can choose one that works for you. I can recommend mine, but it's entirely up to you to take her. There is a cost attached to it. There is a cost per session, so you want to also be ready for it. And you can also go, use medical aid if you have. Some do use medical aid, but my tips would be, you need to be ready for it in terms of just where you are in your life, in terms of implementing, because it's literally just, I don't know, it's a mirror really, where you just go and you're able to see yourself, just by talking and having someone, moderate the conversation, someone with a professional ear listen to you, and make you see the certain things, the blind spots in your life. Otherwise, most of the work is done by you. Most of the work is done by you. That is why other things like lifestyle modification practices, like unplugging from social media, like starting to journal, starting to take walks, starting to reach out maybe to your friends and family more, starting to, just certain things, guys. Other things like creating a better spiritual practices, creating a better living environment, opening your windows. I don't know, but there's other things that you still need to do outside the therapist's office that are going to help you, but you will not be able to do if you believe that the change will come from someone else. The change is supposed to come from you. Even books that you should be reading. I recommended a couple of books: Battlefield of the Mind, What Happened to You by Oprah, Boundaries by Dr. Henry, and other memoirs, by other people like us, Africans like us, who've gone through the journey of healing. I also recommend Lebo Pule's books, on healing and finding yourself. There's certain other things that you still need to do outside, just therapy itself, that are still part of therapy, that are still going to help you. Journaling, I was journaling, but I started to be more intentional, and I literally bought a new journal, and I would write, just coming from therapy, I would write, reflect on what was happening or what we're talking about, and certain things that I want to change, so it is a journey, and it is not a once-off thing that you're going to say, okay, let me budget 5,000 and I know that I'm going to be fine after this. It's just a journey of personal development, of healing, of prioritizing yourself. And yeah, after some time, you are going to start to notice, because the big thing is you just being mindful and being aware of how your past and your present are affecting you and stopping you from becoming the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really wanted to just be as honest as possible about this journey, and also just do it in my most, I just thought of picking up the camera and doing it in the morning while, sitting and enjoying my coffee, because I thought, instead of making it curated, let me just make it as, natural and as, like a friend would talk to a friend. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and bye.